we've spoken to so many small businessmen over the last couple of days who basically say they're just hanging on, and they'll need to buy stock. They'll have to probably borrow money to buy stock to prepare to reopen.
Sure.
So, and many of them say it'll take at least a week, maybe 2 weeks to do all of that. Can you guarantee that they will have time to do that?
Absolutely. We'll provide as much notice as we possibly can. But I want to be very frank with people. The notion that we would go from, say, stage 4 to stage 2 or stage 1, where all of those businesses would be open like a normal kind of second half of the year, normal spring, we're not going to be able to do that. It's going to have to be gradual and steady, because we've all got to be really careful to make sure that nothing we do makes it more likely that we find ourselves back here in exactly this place. We want to defeat this second wave and defeat it properly, and then that means that we can avoid a third wave, or at least it's much more likely that we can then find that COVID normal and have a longer term plan that gets us well into 2021. Hopefully a vaccine comes at some point during next year, and then things are in a very different place. But it will be, no rule will be on longer than it needs to be, and no stage will be longer than it needs to be, to protect public health, to save lives, but also to save livelihoods as well. And we'll have many announcements that we will make in the weeks and months ahead around economic recovery, the government playing its part to stimulate demand and confidence, all of that work, and to stand beside every single person who has been terribly injured by this. This is a very challenging set of circumstances. We've never faced anything like this before. And it won't be quick. It will take a lot of time for us to repair that damage and to support people, and we will be there with them.
So can you offer them a glimmer of hope that there will be some form of change for them after September the 13th, given the figures at the moment?
What I hope to be able to do is well before then, and what I'm very confident we'll be able to do is well before then, we will be able to map out, and there'll be asterisks on it. It'll all be subject to case numbers and data and science, and that's, I think people want us to be guided by that. But well before then, certainly before then, we will be able to give people a sense of what the weeks and months to come look like. Some of it will be broad, some of it might be quite detailed, but it would all be based on how much virus is there, are the numbers low enough. I'll just go back to my point before. If you were to reopen on Monday, say, at 113, 100 cases, then they wouldn't be at 100 for very long. We would finish up pretty quickly back where we were 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. That would be of no benefit to anybody. So I appreciate, and there's a lot of feedback, listening to a lot of people. It's very challenging, and the greatest frustration amongst this, really in many ways, one of the greatest frustrations of this virus is that you just can't provide those definitive and certain answers to all the questions that people want answered. And I understand why. And that's why we're all working as hard as we can. As I said, a long meeting last night. There'll be more and more meetings in the coming days with all the doctors, with all the experts, just to get that most complete picture, and then to make not guesswork, but trying to make as evidence-based as it can be, detailed decisions about a plan. And as soon as we are able to share that with the Victorian community, again, based on the data, we absolutely will.
Premier, it sounds like in a few weeks' time, Melbourne will still be in lockdown just under stage 3.
Well, I'll just say to you again, the notion of going from stage 4 to stage 1 or stage 2, I don't think there's a jurisdiction in the world that's been able to do that.
I suppose that's just what Melburnians have to look forward to in a few weeks' time?
Well, I don't think anyone's looking forward to any element of this. This is a very challenging thing. It's wildly infectious. It's deadly. We need to defeat this second wave, and we need to do it properly, and we need to do it in a comprehensive way. That is the best way for us to guarantee that we can then have a clear run at rebuilding and recovery, and not simply, half defeat the second wave and then just really set ourselves up for the inevitable third wave. That's not what we want. We want to do everything we can, and that's why I'm so deeply grateful to every single Victorian, and I am so proud of every single Victorian, and it's the vast majority that are doing it tough, but they are doing what is necessary. That's how we will defeat this second wave, and it's how we will then be able to, and not just for a week or two, we'll be able to have a clear picture based on the science, based on the data, based on the best of advice, a clear picture about what the weeks and months ahead look like, and, can I say, the sort of support and activity that we will provide to workers, to families, to businesses, to communities, to everybody across our state. And let's be clear, we talk about Melbourne a lot because, yes, there are different rules in Melbourne, but I've got a message for everyone in regional Victoria too. We know there's been significant damage done in regional Victoria, and we will stand with every community, large and small, particularly those who are a long way away from Melbourne, where sometimes the power, the influence and the impact of the government's spend, the government's effort, can mean even more. So that recovery job, that big job of repair and rebuilding and recovery, will include every part of our great state.
Just back on the borders really quickly, the PM said he's against having a hard border anywhere and would like that to not be
That's
the
certainly
case.
been the federal government's position.
Do you
Look,
support that? Is there anything you can do to mitigate those risks if that was to come to pass?
sorry, Mark, just to...
Do you support that, or is there anything we can do from the Victorian side to mitigate
Look,
the risks?
Look, I've tried to be as frank and as fair as I can be on this. So where there's things we can do to try and make a difficult set of circumstances a little easier, not easy, but a little bit easier, then Jacqueline Symes, who's the Minister with responsibility for these issues, and where necessary and where appropriate, I've got involved in it, and we've had some good outcomes. Is it everything that everyone wants? No. And we're happy to keep working on that. But I'm not critical of Stephen or Gladys for closing their border. I know it's tough, I know it's really difficult, but I understand where they're coming from. And if the situation was the other way around, then we would have done the same thing. So the PM has a view, and he's perfectly entitled to have that view. We've got to get these numbers down to the lowest level possible. That's what will facilitate and make possible some of these border shuts coming off and people being able to move much more freely.